Parks and Recreation Commission is commencing tonight. First on the agenda would be the call to order, roll call. Other than Loretta Herron, who has an excused absence, we're all present. Let the record show our presence of 4 commissioners tonight. Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Barajas.
All right, let's all stand. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comments tonight?
We have none.
We have none. Okay, let's move on to presentations. Recognition of the 2018 calendar contest winners.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This presentation will be given by Jonathan Volsky. Oh. Go ahead.
I can give you the overview. I don't have the list of the winners' names in front of me, although they are here tonight. Thank you. And we'll make the presentations. Thank you, Laura. So the calendar contest, if you know, is an annual event sponsored by Community Services and the Public Information. We solicit entries from our residents and then put the calendar out. This year we received a great number of entries and had a difficult time paring them down, but we're very proud of the final product. This year's calendar, you also notice we sort of added some additional information along with the pictures to give residents a little more insight into the city. Printed about 3,000 of the calendars, which are going quickly. And the second printing, you may notice, actually has some more vibrant colors, and so we're tried a different printer, and we may use that printer in the future. So I don't know if the vice chair would like to come down and we can make the presentations at the podium and get some photographs.
We all typically do.
You all come down? Excellent. We'll get some
the whole
photographs.
group will come down.
Thank you.
Group hug thing. So.
I'm just going to use my voice. Could use that. So when we announce your name, if you'd like to come up, commissioners will give you a certificate. We'll get a quick photo of that, and then we'll get a group photo at the end. So the first is Leah Gao. Go. Leah? So if you'd like to stand with there, they'll give you get a picture. Turn the camera again. Thank you. And then if you stay close, we'll get a group picture afterwards. Susan Brown Matsumoto.
The brown always easier.
I should have stopped. Olivia Stedman. Ricardo Tino. David Bradshaw. Miguel Castellanos. Karen Johnston, Kendall Harris, Ed Stewart, Ted Koselch. Okay, and then if all the winners could gather back up, we'll take one group shot. I hope you all follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we'll put the pictures up there. And Commissioners, as you take your seat, I want to acknowledge the hard work that Skylar Hunter, our public information specialist who is here tonight, does. He's a great graphic artist of himself and works on the photos and the layout, so we're very fortunate to have him, and his work on the calendar really makes it a great product.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Congratulations. If you haven't have a copy of the calendar, it's a fantastic photographs for each month. I certainly have one, and if you don't have one, please check with the city, and you'll be provided with one. Thank you. Moving right along, our report from the Activity Committee for Teens. Liaison.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jewel Chu, and it is a pleasure to be here representing Lake Forest Advisory Committee for Teens. I'm here to update the Parks and Recreation Commission about what ACT has been working on these past 2 months. We finished our community service project, Presents for Pets, and we worked in collaboration with OC Animal Care to collect items for the shelter to benefit the pets. We collected food, treats, bedding, enrichment toys, towels, and pet enrichment tools. The donations were taken to the OC Animal Care Shelter located in Orange. They were very grateful and look forward to working with ACT again. We volunteered at Astronomy Night and the winter movie in the park. We helped with crafts, face painting, serving food, and much more. We look forward to volunteering at Snowfest this month and hope to see you there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is a report from the Senior Advisory Board.
Good evening. Our last Senior Advisory Board meeting was held on January 10th, and 3 new members were sworn in, as you had approved. Betty Atwell, Beverly Ford, and Alberto Lopez. We've been working on the name for our new facility. I don't want to say senior center because we're not going to use that word, so I'll say facility. We have a contest going. I think it ends in March. So if you have any ideas for names, we're looking for ideas. We also, at our meeting, talked about the 4th of July float. And what we're going to try to do, if we can figure this out, is we want to focus on our new facility, so getting everybody excited about what it's going to be. So that's still kind of a work in progress. We're going to include in our calendar for this year, we missed it last June, I don't know how we missed it, but we want to do, June is Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And so we want to have a speaker and then focus on some of the issues so that our seniors can be aware of those things and be watching out for everybody. You probably heard that at the senior center we're going green, and we've pretty much gotten rid of most of the water bottles. We're serving water out of the fountain, iced tea, and of course Jan is still working on trying to get rid of soda. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's still her goal. It's a personal goal of hers. One of the things I've proposed is getting an adaptive yoga class, and that means yoga in different forms, like chair yoga and different things like that. A lot of the seniors don't like to get on the floor and get on mats. So as we move along, we'd like to have more classes that they can still experience the yoga, but in a different format. I've been taking an adaptive yoga class at Laguna Woods, and it's really very good. She always is able to show us another pose and another way of doing something if there's something you can't do. And as we age, there are some things that sometimes we can't do. We talked about at our meeting, we'd like to have a grandparent day. We're not sure exactly how we'll do that, but probably on one of the days bring grandchildren to the facility, probably not on a Thursday when it's so crowded, but something where they could focus on the grandchildren and the grandparents. Then we're also working towards Harvard and TED Talks. That's kind of like the big thing where you go in a separate room and you have it via I don't know how they Skype it in or whatever they do. But the big thing is these Harvard, mostly they're health talks, and TED Talks are on just every issue you can think of. And so we thought that would be good for the seniors. And then we're working on coming close to the end for nominating people for the SACS Volunteer of the Year Award. So that'll be good. Still taking applications for that. And then coming up in January, there'll be a mini excursion to the Heritage Hill Historical Park. There's also a mini excursion to the Yakult, I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce it, factory tour. Is that the acidophilus stuff? That's what I thought, yeah. And that'll be good. That'll be interesting. January 24th, there'll be a medication review, which is really good. They have it, one of the experts comes in and helps the senior, and they talk about, they can bring in, I guess, their bag of medication, and they can discuss it with them and, what that's all about. On the 25th, there'll be a seminar on the 10 signs of Alzheimer's. On the 31st, there's a movie day, Wonder Woman. I thought that was just at the theater. That's fast. February, there's a mini excursion. Let's see. February 9th, there'll be a dinner dance, Happy Trails. 13th, there's a mini excursion to Chapman University Holocaust Exhibit and Huell-Hauser Archives. February 20th, there'll be Crafty Crafters going to make water marble mugs. They're having a mini excursion on February 21st to the old Orange County Courthouse. There'll be a tour. The 21st, they're going to have the movie The Secret Scripture. 22nd, there'll be a seminar, Healthy Ways to Treat Depression. There's a lot of issues with depression in seniors, so we thought that would be a good topic. Then the 27th, there's the Vegas Casino and Outlet Center excursion. Another movie on the 28th of the Flatliners. On March 7th, we have a mini excursion. No, that's not. 13th, Tessman Planetarium. 14th is the movie Dunkirk. And then the March 14th will be our Senior Advisory Board meeting. We keep reminding everybody that's open so that anyone that wants to attend that is more than welcome. Any comments or questions?
Very busy.
Yeah, very busy.
Excellent report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next item on our agenda is the consent calendar. Minutes of the regular meeting of the Lake Forest Parks and Recreation Commission held on December 21st. Are there any changes or comments? All right, please.
Move to approve.
Is a motion on the floor to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. Is press the appropriate button on your dais. I think by show of hands, all in favor, raise aye. All opposed? Motion passes and acceptance. Item number 5, under discussion action items, annual reporting of the Parks and Recreation Commission to the City Council. I'll turn this over to the Director, Scott Westbrook.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Commission, once a year, the Planning Commission and the Parks and Recreation Commission give a brief presentation to the City Council, and it usually takes place in January or February. I believe this is the third year that we'll be giving the report. And it's essentially a short report. It's just a summary for the City Council on items that the Commission has been working on. And so what I usually do is I've provided here the numbers 1 through 8. I've provided some of the more substantial items for which the Commission provided input. And they include conducting Commission meetings at 10 of the parks that were going to be renovated. You might recall that earlier in the year, we scheduled a number of special meetings, and we noticed them a little bit differently. And we met at each of the 10 parks to walk the facilities and talk about the potential for improvements at each. Providing feedback to staff regarding the condition of natural turf at city parks and recommendations to decrease field wear and improve turf sustainability. This is an ongoing conversation. Providing feedback to city staff regarding community outreach conducted as part of the Neighborhood Improvement Plan. Providing feedback that helps shape the Community Service Department's process to engage the community to name the new senior center. Making recommendations regarding the city's sports tournament policy. Providing the impetus for staff to complete the Healthy Cities Initiative. Providing input used to update the city's sound ordinance to regulate noise in city parks. And also selecting two new members for the Senior Advisory Board. So these are the 8 items that the Commission considered over the last year that were the most substantial. Additionally, I know that the Chair was interested in seeking clarification from the City Council on 2 items. One was pertaining to a no smoking in city parks type of ordinance, and there are different ways to do that. But I know that she was interested in requesting permission from the City Council to work on that. And the second item, what was the second item?
For the time of the Commission meeting.
The time of the Commission meetings, thank you. Time of the Commission meetings. The Commissioners may be aware that the City Council changed the time, the meeting time of the City Council meetings from 7 o'clock to 6:30. And I believe the Commission also wanted to suggest to the City Council that the times for the Parks and Recreation Commission and Planning Commission meetings similarly be moved to 6:30. So that's my report, and it's really up for the Commission to develop a consensus around the items that you would like the Chair to report. She couldn't be here this evening, as you know, but she will be here to give the report at the second meeting in February.
Very good. Open for discussion on comments. Commissioner Rosenberg.
Thank you. There's a couple of things. I think, again, the way the Senior Advisory Board gets appointed, we had 3 actually this time instead of 2. 2 were incumbents who were reappointed. Interesting, your comment on the meeting start time. When I suggested initially the 6:30, I didn't bring the Planning Commission in. I don't know what they want to do, and if it has to be that, or if we can act independently, maybe we can have some conversation with them before this is given. If it comes from those, it might be more meaningful. But I would like to suggest that and the smoking ordinance, no smoking in parks, be included with maybe a little stronger language and just requesting direction. I know that's the technical terminology, but maybe requesting positive consideration on behalf of the council or on part of the council to literally go ahead with this. I don't think there's a lot of extra stuff we as a commission would have to do for either one of these items.
You're actually correct. I believe we have both of these reports drafted, and that the language I would probably use in the report would be, or that I would request that the Chair use, would be direct the commission to work on these two items.
Okay, all right, yeah, that it goes as opposed to something that takes a long time even to get off the ground, because they're both pretty simple. The other things that I would like to see added, if possible, because they are, again, great selling points for what community services does. One of the things that I know we did here was, we've kind of, and to use the word, I think it was used before, impetus, for a review of fees, which we had decided that we would do on a timed basis, and now that's actually gotten even more play by having a across-the-board city fee study being done. But I think, I don't know if anybody else was on this, but I think that would be another good point that came from the commission that could be included. And then the next discussion item that we will cover after this includes some really great points, the increases not only in attendance but revenue. And I don't know, I don't know if I'd want to lead with that or close with that, because they speak so highly for what the department, or maybe do it both, right. And as a closing comment, if you missed comment number one, dramatic increase in fees and revenues. But I think that should be part of the report itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, whatever fees and revenues generated goes into the general fund. It's not niched for specific usage by the Parks and Recreational Department. Is that correct?
That's correct.
On the other hand, we certainly benefit the city by the revenue increases, which have been substantial over the past several years, based on the number of activities and participation by our citizens. And I believe most cities work that way in terms of revenue. Is that correct?
That's correct.
As a practice?
Correct.
Okay. On the other hand, you can certainly justify increasing budgets to support the higher amounts of activity. I'm assuming that is a correct comment as you proceed through the budget.
For the next budget year, when we open the new facilities, there will definitely be a new budget request that goes with that.
Well, that's great news. Given the Civic Center and the facility that will be expanding our programs, have more space and much more variety of programs. So that's very exciting. Is there any other feedback from the rest of the commissioners? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the accomplishments and the write-up, so our chair would be prepared to present it to the City Council on February 20th.
Motion.
Second? I second it.
Second?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and vote by using our buttons here, yes or no, or abstain. Well, all right. We got it? Oh, very good. All right. The motion passes. Director report?
No, we have the,
Or did I miss a step? Hang
yeah,
on.
you missed the revenue and...
Oh, I'm sorry, I skip ahead, my apologies. December 2017 recreational report?
So Vice Chair and Commissioners, I am back again this year with our end of the year summary report. Now, while this is the end of the year, it's the end of the fiscal year. It's not end of the calendar year, even though we're doing it this time of year. So some of the information that were increased, that shows an increase, is kind of what we were just talking about in the last report. What we wanted to highlight to the council, that we've had a 10% increase in attendance and a 9% increase in revenue, which does sound wonderful because we're always going up. But I did want to bring to your attention that in the 15-16 fiscal year, we did have a 27% increase because of the opening of the sports park and all the programs that went along there. So while we still continue to increase, we're not seeing that big jump that we saw when the sports park opened up. But an increase is an increase, so I'm happy with that. In regards to the attendance, the 10% increase, The general things we always see an increase in our programs is attendance for all of our recreation programs and our camps, our classes, things like that. But we also this year had an increase in attendance in sports user group tournaments. So we went through that full fiscal year of having the sports park open. We then came to the point of having the number of tournaments that we wanted to have, our 11 tournaments, that was all filled. We also had an addition of an adult basketball league that added to that. We've now increased the attendance for our adult softball leagues. We went from, I think it was 25 teams up to, we're at our max now, at our max of 80 teams per each of the softball seasons. So that was a huge leap in the number of people that were participating in our programs. And then another highlight was the taxi voucher program and the emeritus classes for our seniors. Those jumped quite a bit this last fiscal year. The increase in revenue follows along those same lines of why we had an increase in attendance. You're going to have an increase in revenue because you have more people taking your programs. While the increase was not as large as it was 2 years ago, our staff's thought process behind this is that when the Civic Center and the Performing Arts and Senior Center open in 2019, you're going to see a big jump again. So you'll see that 27% jump, maybe 30% jump in the number of attendance and the number of the amount of revenue that we're bringing in. So another busy couple years, but we'll take it. This is how we like to work. So that's my report this evening. We'll be very happy to answer any questions for you.
Questions from,
Just comment, because you seem despondent.
Because we didn't have a big, huge
Because
jump.
you only had a 10%
I know.
increase,
When you
which
see
I
that,
think,
we're underachievers.
no, I
here.
think
Yeah.
when you look at what the number is,
Yes.
that 10% represents, it's still a damn good, excuse me, darn good number.
You know when you really see the difference is actually when you look at the comparison of the fiscal years. So if you go to this chart right here, that's where you really see it. So for instance, in the emeritus program in 2015, 2016, we had close to 9,000 participants.
Right.
Actually, that's an attendance. So let me clarify, that's attendance. That's not enrollment. That's the number of times that people have attended a certain program. But then you jump to 2016-17, and we're close to 15,000. I mean, you look at those numbers and you go, okay, that's a great increase. The other one that really jumped out in my mind was, let me see, what was the other one?
Sports leagues.
The sports leagues, yeah, thank you. The sports leagues with a jump in the number of people that we had for tournaments. Things that went down a little bit, or actually went up too, was the room rentals went up a little bit. So there's things that went up a slight bit, but you start looking at those senior programs and you go, we really are reaching a lot more people, which is what we want to do. So whether it's 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, we're increasing, and that's what's important in this report itself.
And probably in 2 years, when you do this again,
Exactly.
you'll
We'll
have
have that.
another 40 or 50%
Yes.
with what's going to be open.
Because we'll have we'll have one whole brand new facility to program at.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Vicki, a couple of questions, if I may.
Yes.
On the attendance comparisons and things. Two that kind of stood out to me. One is rec and roll.
Yeah.
Is that something whose time may have come and is now?
Unfortunately, I think so. I think that we only offered it one week last summer.
3 times a week. and it
3
was
times
just
a week for 1 week. We're not seeing as much participation as we are in the past for that particular program. I think more people are coming to the sports park now. I think in the future we still need to come up with some sort of programs that reach out to the community that doesn't have the ability to come up to the sports park or doesn't have the ability to come to some other programs. So it may not be rec and roll, but we'll come up with some other.
I mean, the title is one thing that
Yeah.
I don't think is the gating factor, but would it, and I'm sure you have statistics on
Yeah.
where did this 627 and 665 attendance come from? And kind of maybe
Yeah.
compress the program.
Yeah, but we keep compressing. We keep
Okay,
And we go to the parks that we know were successful,
yeah.
and even then, the number is dwindling, which is so sad because those are what I call recreation 101 type things. You know, they're really the core of how a lot of programs started was a program like this that takes recreation out to the parks. It's just that they're not getting the numbers that they used to be getting, and it might be a change of population too. We might have. I actually know one kid in particular who used to go to the one at Cherry Park, who now is graduating from high school. So we might just be moving out of the age range that takes part in those programs.
Again, that might be something to look at in conjunction with the Kids Factory,
Yeah.
where the attendance
Yeah.
is and where those are, and then maybe, and I'm going to, with the PR and PIO and all this that we have now at our disposal, maybe that would be something then to look at to kind of make
Yeah.
them really aware this is like for them.
Exactly.
For Mountain View, for,
Right.
whatever, where I'm just picking one out of the mix
Right.
to look at it. The other thing I noticed, I remember when we talked about facility rentals and room rentals, and that our big fear at the time was that we couldn't accommodate the rush. Is it fair to say the rush never came, or?
The rush is for the people that can't use it necessarily. We do get a lot of requests, but it's mainly private, private parties that are looking to use the rooms. So it's a lot of, for me at least, I've turned that over to Tiana, because it's a lot of the people that want to do the baby showers, the birthday parties and things like that we do turn away. So that number is reflective of only the AYSOs, the Little
Yeah,
Leagues,
it's very minimal.
the nonprofit organizations that are able to use it. I mean, we never have a Lake Forest business that needs it because they have their own conference room.
But would it make sense, now that we know this and we have it, in fact, that this is what we're doing, which was our original surmise to do because of the reasons you mentioned, to maybe open it up to private as part of either the fee study or that the commission bring it up?
So that was, you might recall, that was a decision of the city council. I think the commission recommended something different. The council actually decided to make it available only to nonprofits at no charge.
But now that we have the data, we have some empirical data that might support the argument. Because I think, like everybody, we thought between the nonprofit organizations, whether they're adult or youth or whatever, the rooms would be pretty full.
The commission can certainly make that recommendation. I would perhaps wait and see what happens with the community center, because people can rent rooms there also.
Yeah. So what you're up against too at the you're kind of up against a couple things at the rec center. So at the rec center, you're up against the fact that it's so full with classes all of the time. It's 45 days out that you have to get your time in. Well, 45 days out, we're booked for 40 days out with the classes already. So like for right now, we're putting the spring brochure will be coming out, but a week after the spring brochure comes out, we're starting on summer. So we're 6
Okay.
months ahead of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it
so
does,
sometimes
it
somebody
does,
calls
yeah.
that wants to book the room and it's not available because it's used for a program. Well, I don't think we're going to have that issue at the other facility.
Okay.
We won't be
And
using it in the same context. Yeah.
I would then
Yeah.
make the suggestion that we as a group, and I'll ask for consensus later in comments, maybe at least upscale it, that this type of policy does not get made by the 5 people who sit here on Tuesdays, that at the news center, we should keep it for certain things as opposed to revenue recovery.
And I think that's exactly what staff is going to recommend. I think that's what I would expect the council to do, because that fits the reason that we're building it, to meet the need of the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just better safe than sorry, I think. And then the last number question that I have, skate park is kind of like up and down, kind of like a ping pong. What was there during the previous fiscal year that jumped it up so high compared
Are you
to?
talking about 2014-15?
Yeah.
That may have been, you know this?
I know this.
You can tell the answer to that.
I do.
I know what it is, too.
Because I
You
asked
tell
the same
answer.
question. So, well, one of them, some of our events, so for example, the egg hunt and the Festival of Colors, there was a time when we would just allow over 1,000 people in there. And at a certain point, we scaled that back. That and other events, we started scaling back
Except
just
for
because of all the
safety
problems,
reasons,
the safety, and it became unenjoyable for some of the participants. And I think the other thing that decreased were the camps. And we actually decreased it because what we did is we started some new camps, and they were very successful. But similarly, we sort of figured out the number. There's an optimal number that you want to have in those camps where the kids get the instruction on how to skate and how to do some of the tricks. And essentially, from one season to the next, we reduced the number that we would enroll in the camps.
So we went to have, but we would just keep adding instructors, so we would have more in the camp. But we realized that they weren't getting. Yeah, sometimes more isn't better. Sometimes less is more enjoyable, and it's better for the kids. And we're also trying some new camps out. So this last summer, we had a brand new camp that will be successful, but you don't get it as successful as first. But it was a action sports camp where 2 days a week they went to the rock climbing facility, and 3 days a week they were at the skate park. So somewhat that. And I do think, too, the overall number at the skate park, you're going to see the same thing you would see in some of these other programs. Kids grow older, they grow out. Younger kids go, but they don't go as often. They can't drive themselves there. You know, so we're seeing kind of that trend you may be seeing in some schools, too, of the age group of kids.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Again, a lot to be proud of. Well,
Okay, I also have a comment. As I look through the statistics, I was particularly taken back by the kids' factory attendance numbers when I looked at the trends, particularly in 3 schools, La Madera, Lake Forest. It's on page 11.
Are you looking at the rec report, or are you looking at this report?
You're looking at the monthly report?
I'm looking at the December recreational report.
That is?
Yeah.
So that's the next agenda item.
Okay, then I'll save my comments for the December, for the next agenda item, but I don't have anything further on this particular topic.
move that we receive and file then.
So moved. Second?
Second, do we vote on this, or do we just receive it?
You don't need to vote on it.
Just file, just review and file.
Item 7?
Item 7.
Excellent. So I'll turn it over to Recreation Managers Vicki Blevin and Laura Lissack for the Recreation Report.
Good evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. I'm going to review the month of December with you, and as most of you know, and we discussed last month, I was so proud of our breakfast and brunch with Santa here back at City Hall. I think we'll continue that tradition. It seems to be such a nice setting. We had close to 200 people registered for both events, about 196 to be exact, with a nice setting here at City Hall. Everybody was pleased with not only the Santa that we have each year. He does a wonderful job with the kids, but just the staff. The staff they do an outstanding job. I can't be more proud of them. They're all dressed and fancied up and you know, really well mannered and go out of their way more than ever just to make the families feel comfortable and really accommodate and put them in the holiday spirit. So it's a nice environment for all the families to be at. Nice picture taking opportunities for all the kids. And again, another proud moment was Astronomy Night. Kevin Fernandez took the lead on this. It was the first time that we've ever done this. On December 9th, we had our first Astronomy Night held at the sports park. It was a wonderful evening. We were blessed with another amazing night in Lake Forest. We had 140 registered participants. Not too bad for the first time we've ever done that. We used one of our actually parade entries that we got connected with, was happy to come out and do this event with us. Had a ginormous telescope, and so all the kids were able to look through this telescope and see the stars and the constellations and things like that. All of the staff that participated did some crafts with the astronomy type theme. The families really had a good time and enjoyed it, and we will definitely see that event come back next year. Another event that I'm proud to say, first time Ali Gallardo performed and did a Movies in the Park during the winter. We had 250 people in attendance. Again, another amazing night in Lake Forest. Couldn't ask for better weather on December 15th, which was held at the Commons area, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. We had hot chocolate and warm, fuzzy, and cozy snacks for sale for the families. And as you can see there in that picture, we had a great crowd. I'm going to touch on, Victor, I know you're asking regarding Kids Factory numbers. I was going to touch on that, along with, if you want to turn to page 7, the numbers that we have for the Sports Park Open Gym. As you can see, our numbers just keep rising. We basketball, if you go by there any day of the week during the lunch hour, we have such a great crowd. We have a great crowd of guys that come every day during their lunch hour, and whether they're local business people that work in the area, or they're just high school, college type kids, they're always there and they're filling that gym. Volleyball is a little bit slower, but that's just the nature of the beast. And futsal, another program that Kevin Fernandez started, has taken off. We're still trying to get pickleball to take off. It's a little slow. The only time that we do see people, and I need to include this in our report, is on a rainy day. So we had, I think last week when it rained, we actually had like 13. So that was like the best day that we've had for pickleball. And then we'll go back to page 11, Victor. I know your question probably had a question which I was going to highlight regarding Kids Factory. Kids Factory, believe me, I'm very familiar with Kids Factory for 12 years with the school district. It's an ebbs and flows type of a program. It really depends on the population of the school, how many kids are going to be using that program. Sometimes there's a lot of siblings, sometimes there's not. Sometimes, it's kind of with the school district, any year could be different from year to year at any of the schools, whether the class size is different, the population, the demographics, that type of thing. So although you see such a large increase from December 2016 to 17 and La Madera, Lake Forest, and Olivewood, Portola, and Santiago, and Foothill, and Gates, all of them have large increases. But again, that's the amount of times the kids are going, not necessarily how many kids are actually registered. The last report we received, we are at 987 participants currently, which surpasses our goal of, I believe we estimate, or we would, approximately would like 900. So we'll definitely hit over 1,000 shortly here, and that's just another kudos to the Kids Factory staff. They do a really good job over there as well with their supervision and the care and concern for the kids that they have for that program. And I'm willing to take any questions that you may have on any of our programs.
Just a quick comment. I was particularly taken with the percent of increase from the year ago, December to December 2017. That's like over a 50% increase.
There's also more days that in this year, so there's 16
more
days
days
as opposed
that
to 12.
contributed to that.
So that attributes to that too. But a lot of times too, it's just the ebbs and flows of the year. Next year, you'll probably see like another 50% decrease. So
Excellent.
don't scrutinize me.
Very good. Any other comments from the commission?
Yeah, excuse me. I have a question just kind of relating to the numbers with adult sports that are covered here, and then looking at the previous item we discussed, where we were looking at the total number being like 45,000 for adult sports leagues. And granted, it's only half of the year, this is now 17, 18, and that, but
Yeah, right.
how does that 1170 per month kind of get to 45,000 at the end of a year?
Let's see. The 11. I was thinking you were looking on page 6.
So basically, what they do is you have the number of teams times the
Times-
number of people on the team times the number of times that
per
they
year.
meet.
Yeah.
So if it's a 10-week league, you're multiplying all those out for the attendance versus the enrollment. So you could have, let's say you have 80 teams.
Okay, let's take the 73 that you have here.
One is players.
Yeah, exactly. One is players, one is attendance.
Right.
Okay, and there's,
So how,
let's say 12, 15 on a team. I'm just being,
I think it's higher, a little bit higher than that, but.
Okay.
So let's say you have 10. Let's make it easy now. You have 10 on a team. They meet 10 times for a league that's 10 weeks long.
Times 80.
Times 80.
It's 100 times 80.
yeah, okay.
So one is attendance, one is enrollment.
Okay, no, I understand that. So then the 1170 sounds like it might be low. That might be a low
Yeah,
number.
It might be, yeah.
Because if you did that same
Exactly.
theory
Right.
and then multiplied it, this is the month, by 12,
Right.
you'd come up with about 14,000 versus the 45.
Right.
But no, what you're saying makes more sense, so, okay.
Some leagues are, some are.
No further comments? Very well. Let's move to Director's report, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have just 3 items to report on briefly. Just a couple of things I wanted the Commissioner to know that we're working on. You may not hear about it, but it's taken a lot of time. One are just the operational plans, and I may have talked about this before, the operational plans for the new facility, for the Senior Center, and also for the Performing Arts Center, especially for the new Community Center. The Senior Center is a little bit easier just because we have experience with that. A lot of what we do here will move there, and it's an expansion of existing programs, whereas the Community Center is brand new. So we're doing a lot of research, figuring out the staffing, revenue projections, budget requests, things like that. The second item is just the recreation software migration. It's something that if we do it properly, happens very quietly and nobody knows about it. The software program that we had became obsolete. We did a lot of, we being Vicky, did a lot of research, looked into a lot of different programs. We selected one, and we're in the process of doing all of the training and the data migration. It is an enormous task that sort of caught me off guard. It just takes a lot of time, and if it's done properly, again, people won't even notice. Everything will go smoothly, and the launch date it's in March.
We're going to go live in March. So the real test of the program will actually come when we do our summer registration, with an immense amount of registration going through that that program. It's all in the cloud. Everything's cloud-based. It should be much easier on the registration site, the online registration site, to use it for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, we're spending a lot of time in webinars and sitting for long hours going over this stuff, and so you can imagine recreation people sitting in a classroom for 4 or 5 hours at a time. So, but it's well worth it when we launch the new system. Yeah.
So this will be the template for all registrations for courses and
Yes.
recreational programs
Yes.
and senior program?
Yes, it's an upgrade to the program that we have now.
So this will take the place the way we're registering now for special events and payments?
I would say 95% of what you register for now will be moving over there. There are some things that we will still keep doing some of the old-fashioned ways just for the purpose of crowd control, but at least 95% or a little bit higher will be done.
So it'll be somewhat transparent?
Yeah.
as far
Oh,
as
yeah.
Oh, totally.
Exactly.
registering
Yeah.
process.
The only thing that you may see different is we will be asking you, if you do register with the new program, that you'll need to input your information one more time, make yourself a client account. But with this program, you make yourself a client account, and it emails you all of your information.
I see.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a mobile app. Thank you. You'll be able to register from a mobile app as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Vicki. The third item, we have 3 community workshops coming up for the Neighborhood Improvement Plan. I believe you all should have received postcards. And if you haven't, I think door hangers are coming soon, if those haven't come out yet. Okay, they're coming soon. But the 3 meetings, it's first week of February. It's Monday the 5th, and then Wednesday the 7th and Thursday the 8th. So it's the 5th, the 7th, and the 8th. Those meetings will be held at 7 o'clock at the sports park. And so I just wanted to let you know in case residents ask you about those. I said there were 3 items. There was a 4th item. I wanted to throw one more thing in. The city hired 2 grant writers. They asked staff to do an RFP for a grant writer. They ended up awarding 2 separate contracts to 2 separate grant writing firms. There was one that was working with recreation, gave us a list of grants to look through. There was only really one really good match, and it pertains to ASO. It's a foundation grant. It's from the U.S. Soccer Foundation, and it's a grant that they're providing. It's actually a new grant. It's focusing on the teen players. They're essentially trying to find innovative ways to keep teen players engaged in the game, because historically, teens tend to drop out of soccer at a higher rate the older that they get. So we are working with ASO as a partner organization, and also with the U.S. Soccer Federation on that grant. And the grant application is due February 2nd. Our role essentially is really just sort of facilitating the meeting of the minds with ASO, with the city, and the grant writer, making sure that the exchange of data and ideas, everyone's on the same page as we move forward. There will be about 3 years of reporting on this, and I kind of regard this as almost a pilot program, because we haven't done this here yet. But I just wanted to advise the commission that we have that opportunity. And I'll take any questions.
Question on the grant for the soccer. Have you also considered possibly talking to some of the clubs?
You know, that's a great question. We didn't, because I think that they are more likely to focus on ASO, since it's a recreational soccer and it's a little bit different than the club soccer. And there are so many clubs that we have. We just have so many clubs that play at our facilities.
But the thing, if you're looking at retention, is that what you're looking at, player retention?
Well, that's what the grant is for, is player retention.
Because I think that you're going to see, this is from personal experience, that once they hit a certain age, ASO is not so popular anymore. Especially, I have teenagers, and it's kind of more frowned upon. That's why you see the teens drop, and they are moving. If they haven't moved to club, they are moving to clubs. So I think it would behoove yourself to also engage at least at 1 or 2 of the clubs, and I'm happy to provide contacts with the different local clubs that I know we use the facilities.
You know, and you raise a great point. It was hard to make a decision on this. One of our problems is that we just started meeting with a grant writer about a week ago, and they laid this is one of about 5 grants. We had to research all 5 and then figure out what made sense. The timeline on this is so short. The grant applications actually due February 2nd. What I would recommend are 2 things. One is that I think that this is a quarterly grant, but I would recommend log on to the USA Foundation website and check their criteria to see if club teams are eligible, because I don't know for sure that they are, but I don't recall reading that they weren't. Yeah. It was the criteria from the grant writer, right? So part of what we have to do, because it's a competitive grant, we're not a disadvantaged community like some other communities where it's really easy to get grant funding. So one of the things that he thought would make a stronger grant would be, I think, using ASO.
I'm just saying, not necessarily going to the clubs for their input, but if you're looking for ideas for player retention, and what are the clubs doing differently from ASO? Why are the clubs so popular and successful at retaining these players through their senior year?
Well, we can have probably about a 3-hour meeting on that subject.
Right. But I'm just saying, if you're looking at for input on player retention, and you don't talk to some of the club directors and see, okay, what are some of the elements that are making you successful? Interview them,
Well,
and then add those
Lisa,
things.
can I jump in
into
for a
the
second? I
process.
think the issue here, and it's easy to find out, the grant is being funded by USSF, United States Soccer Federation, and both clubs and AYSO are part of the same trunk of that tree, which is USYSA, which is youth soccer. It probably would be a phone call, and maybe a phone call to a second person or that person might have to make to find out if the club component is even part of this grant that USSF is putting forth. And then we'd have an answer. Otherwise, to put in a lot of other work, because if it's not, the grant writer's not going to want to touch it. So, because he's involved where there's a specific grant on the table. And I'll make that call tomorrow or Monday at latest. And I'll let you all know if it goes across the board to them as well.
Thank you. Good questions. Thank you.
Anybody else for comments? Okay, we can move right into commission comments. We'll start with Commissioner Porter.
Sorry, I was looking on the soccer thing. I don't think any comments. I do think that many comments. The community services is doing a great job. When you see the numbers, I do concur that some of the dips is because of the aging out. I see it in our neighborhood. You don't have as many elementary kids, and I think that's probably made a difference. Because if you look at the numbers in that one report on some of the teen programs and how those have increased, even if your rec and roll has gone down, I do, concur that that's why that's going on. But I think you guys are doing a great job. I'm excited for the new things coming, the new senior center and the community services, all of that kind of thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Barajas.
Hi. Unfortunately, my wife and I have been suffering from the flu for the past month and a half, so we haven't been able to get out much. But we are excited for Snowfest coming up next Saturday, so that'll be our first foray back into the world.
You're going in the cold, right?
We're going into the cold. We're stepping from a cold into the cold. So first foray into Parks and Recreation, so looking forward to that.
And, of course, Commissioner Rosenberg.
Thank you. I guess it's Happy New Year, and looking just at the next about 4 to 6 weeks, it looks like the community service engine is running on all 12 cylinders again with activities and things like that. So you must have enjoyed your vacation, and now we're back in full gear. Yeah, and all of them are, really cool activities to look forward to. Across the gamut of Snowfest, special needs dance, the senior dance, and all the programs. I had the, again, privilege, I attended the Senior Advisory Board meeting this past Wednesday, and Wednesday of last week, and is a very, very lively and move forward type group, really looking for a lot of good things excuse me, to happen. And Francisco, put a mask on. I think I'm getting your call. No, I'm just kidding. With coming up with some really great ideas, and looking back at now, we're in about year 5 of it, if I'm not mistaken, or 6, of having this body. And I remember when we started it, and one of the key components was to try to establish a mission statement for the group. And it has grown by quantum leaps with the amount of varying input and very good input, which I think will do us real well in expanding our senior program and being on track with what people want. And it's really, I think it's one of the great moves that we made to bring in, as the old saying goes, to involve more people. That's a favorite saying of somebody. This is a total success story. Last night I attended the new business reception, which was interesting. They had some people there with some interesting services that, as we grow, it may not only be business that can take advantage of it, but the city as well, as far as programming goes, to include some of the offerings that were there. I want to make a comment. I appreciate Jonathan having spent now 2 meetings with us, from the tapping of the gavel till the second one. And I appreciate both you and Skylar and your whole approach to involvement. I know you were there, both of you were there at the city council meeting on Tuesday from close to finish, so you're into working overtime. That's pretty obvious. But again, with what you shared with us and what both of you are trying to do to promote the city, and I'll just kind of encompass it all with that, I think the best way you can do that is by being involved and seeing what goes on and having some interaction like you and I've had. And I think in the long run, that's just, again, another benefit that we will get. I had one... Oh, no, it's not for this. The comment Sandy had mentioned, was mentioned at the meeting, Senior Advisory Board meeting, about June being Elder Abuse Month. And typically, staff gives out, or the council recognizes all kinds of different months: Engineering Month, Plumbing Month, all of the months that are there. We don't like postage stamps anymore month and things like that. And I was wondering if we could, or what we would need to maybe upscale this to them, to maybe recognize it kind of officially, which puts a little impetus on it, because it is a major issue with the seniors and people who sometimes are alone and who get victimized. And again, as I'm saying this, I'm also knowing that there are 4 years that are listening, maybe, again, something that can be supplemented with some exposure from that standpoint. And I don't know, I've never even thought of what the process is to bring something to them with the request that they...
We could probably make this a council resolution, and it would be on their consent calendar.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to suggest that then. All right, and looking forward to the new year. Thank you.
Well, thank you. A couple quick comments. Heritage Hill Historical Park, I always, as you know, bring that up. But we do have a special event next week with Karen Rice and her mini excursion on Tuesday, which I'm looking forward to, and leading the group through the 4 buildings that we have on Tuesday. So I see the growth of the adult programs. I'm trying to focus more on active adults rather than labeling a senior, because I'm not a senior. I'm an active adult kind of person. So on all the demographic data that I've seen, without a doubt, the over 55 group is the fastest growing segment that we have in our country. And at any given time, people are retiring, or they're looking forward to a semi-retirement or another lifestyle, and getting involved with activities and things they typically have not been involved with, but they have the opportunity based on retirement and other events that happen to them where they can get more involved. So I'm seeing the growth of that, as I'm sure you have, as far as participation. I'm just so excited about the Civic Center when it comes about all the exciting things that we would like to do that we're limited right now. But I'm sure that will change 2019, 2020, thereabouts. Although I think I've heard 2019 is a realistic expectation, but who knows? So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm celebrating my 6th year as serving on the commission. I know that Commissioner Rosenberg's been here forever, I think, from the beginning.
Forever's a long time.
So as Commissioner Herron. So we have a very stable group, and I'm sure we'll be kept very busy for the balance of this year as we look at the various activities with the new makeup of the City Council. Stay tuned. I mean, we'll hopefully get our resolutions by them. It would be the smoking policy, although I keep reminding everyone that we do have a smoking ordinance in the city. We just want to kind of narrow the focus of it as far as pertaining to the parks. Is that basically correct, for the most part? And I can't imagine any pushback from the city council, but we just don't know until we present it to them. As far as the time change, I think that's just a matter of being compatible to their 6:30 council meeting, so I can't see any concerns there, unless I'm missing something. But other than that, I believe at our next meeting, we're going to reorganize the commission. Is that on the agenda for our February 15th meeting next month? And then Commissioner Herron will do the presentation on the 20th. So I think we're going to be very challenged with a lot of the things that are going on. I don't have anything further to say, so without ado, I'll adjourn the meeting.